Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to the Cross Contaminations YouTube channel. In today's video, I have part 1 of a 2-part series about the best shroom trips I've ever had. Now, both of these stories both take place at my homie Gus's house with, of course, Gus. And now, this first trip we're going to talk about was probably the most euphoria I've ever felt from a shroom trip in my entire life. So one day I come over to the homie Gus's house and we're planning on tripping some balls. So I come over, I say what's up to him. We go into his basement. Now this is where we were tripping. It was kind of a scary basement, honestly. I don't really know why we decided to do it in a basement, but it didn't really matter because we still had an absolute blast. Now he had some, I think it was albino penis envy, if I am not mistaken. We took these shrooms. We didn't have a gram scale. We did not scale these out at all. We kind of just took, I think it was 2 to 3 just full shrooms with the cap and the stem. And we ate these, and honestly, they were super disgusting, as shrooms typically are. And they took a long time to get down the hatch, but eventually we got there. Now we took a few hits of the pad. We were just playing some Xbox, just chilling around, drinking some soda, just waiting for these shrooms to kick in. And now we're sitting around, and I'd say probably around 45 minutes into waiting, we start feeling a little bit of something. We both can tell that we're starting to come up. And now my homie Gus, he puts on some good music, and now we were just vibing out to these tunes. And we were starting to feel slowly more. We're slipping into the trip, alright? I saw my homie Gus. He was looking at his hands. He was waving them about. I wasn't really to the point where I was waving my hands, looking at shit. But I was very chill. And now, I remember we were just kind of standing around. We weren't really doing much. We were just kind of feeling our bodies start to transform into that nice, warm shroom feeling. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And eventually, we were fully tripping. So we sit down on his bed, and he puts on a few shows. And now, at this point, I was starting to just look at his walls, because his basement had some very, they're just weird concrete walls. I was just looking at them, and they just look so spacey and detailed, and you kind of get that effect when you look at things on shrooms and they all look so natural and so detailed, and there's so much to it. It also just seems so clear. I was really looking at his walls. I was having a very fun time. I wasn't really paying attention to what he put on, because I was just more in my own universe. And I started to feel the sort of mind effects of shrooms, where your mind just gets all fucking scrambled, because obviously it is a psychedelic, it does kind of, fuck your brain a little bit. So I felt my brain being a little bit scrambled, and now we're both sitting there. It was I'd say probably around 10 minutes into the trip. Gus thinks he hears his parents that are home, and now he was just kind of hearing for it. And now I didn't really hear much of anything, but these shrooms did have a lot of auditory, hallucination things. You hear things that weren't really there. That was really prominent on these shrooms. I remember that a lot. We'll get into that a little bit more later, but I was like, you know what? Nah, it's not there, bro. You're just tripping out. I'm not really hearing anything. And he was like, alright. You know what, we're chilling. And so we just go back to watching our show. I just kind of stare at the wall a little bit more, kind of look at his blanket. I kind of played in his blanket. I just kind of wrapped myself in it a little bit, It just kind of felt like the right thing to do. I was feeling adventurous on these shrooms. And now, at some point, I just kind of laid down on his bed, because I was feeling so much euphoria. I don't know how. I was just having such a great time, because honestly, we were in a scary ass basement, and wasn't really much going on except Gus watching his show. But I was having a great ass time. I was sitting there, I was rolling around, I was kind of twitching a little bit, just because I felt sort of felt like Molly effects, where you just have so much euphoria, you just kind of your entire body just feels so warm. And I was just kind of sitting there, and I started thinking about my entire life, honestly. Like, I thought about every single aspect. I thought about everyone in my life. I thought about everything, like how far I've came to like be this point in my life. It was kind of beautiful, honestly. I think I really needed that. But eventually, I started to feel even more shroomed up. Okay, and now Gus at this point had turned on a scary show, and we were in the dark in his basement, and putting on a scary show, personally, in my opinion, wasn't the best idea. But he still wanted to watch a scary show. I didn't really get scared by the show, but I did feel like I felt like an evil aura coming from the show. It's like, I don't like this a lot, but it was chill, you know. We kept doing our thing, and then eventually, at some point, Gus had left. I don't know what he was going to do. He was probably going to the bathroom or going to explore, something of that sort. And I remember I really wanted to put on some Tokyo rain walking footage, and now I really don't know why I wanted to put this on, but I wanted to just feel like I was in Tokyo in the rain walking, so I put it on, of course, and I was watching it. I felt very immersed in the video. I felt like I was in Tokyo walking in the rain, okay? And so Gus eventually comes back and is like, "What are you watching? And like, what the hell is this?" And I'm like, "Tokyo Rain. Cool stuff, right?" And so eventually he just kind of put on his own show. At that point I was on the floor. This was probably around maybe 2.5 hours into our trip, and I was on the floor. I was feeling so great. At one point I did feel I had like a wave of like just a bad feeling come over me, but eventually I was just like, I didn't even care. And now on these shrooms I felt so much like brain discombobulation. Like I was gone. Like I don't even think I could like understand that I was tripping. I was straight retarded, okay, honestly. And I was still sitting there on his floor, and at some point he had gotten Doritos and some Skittles and I think some pop. I think his parents came home and got us those things. I think that's why he left. But obviously I wasn't really paying attention that much because I was doing my own tweaker shit, right? And so we're sitting there, and then I decide I'm gonna eat some Doritos and Skittles. And now I wasn't even really feeling hungry, but I was like, you know what? I love the taste of Skittles. I love the taste of Doritos. This will make my trip 10 times better. So I go and get myself some Skittles and Doritos. I was chewing on them, and I would chew the Doritos or the Skittles. I would go back and forth, alternate a little bit. But when I was eating the Doritos, I would forget that they were in my mouth and that I was chewing them and that I was eating food completely. So I'd be like chewing the food, forget about it, and be like, and go back to chewing. So I was like, oh, there's food in my mouth. And swallowing was kind of weird, and thankfully I didn't choke because I was hammering them down my throat. Honestly, I was throwing back those Doritos. And now at this point I wanted to get on the floor a little bit, so I lay on the floor, and then I decide, you know what, I thought there was aliens in my homie Gus's bed, and so naturally I started gnawing on his bed frame. I don't know why I did this. I was so like explosively retarded. It was insane, but I started gnawing on his bed frame, and I was like, this is kind of a cool feeling. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I chewing wood? So I'm like, okay, this is fucking stupid. So I stopped chewing the wood. Eventually I go upstairs. Okay, I was going to see what time it is on his oven, and I was like, alright, it's pretty late in the trip, or like, ooh. Okay, and I go back down. I think I got some more food. Eventually Gus fell asleep around the 5-hour mark, and after shroom trips I can't really sleep for quite a while. I need to just kind of decompress and get really fried, just smoke a lot so you can go to sleep. But Gus fell asleep, and I was sitting there, and I was pretty much, I was coming down, but I still felt some effects, and I was sitting there. And then I started coming back to reality. I started feeling more sober, but I felt like one of my legs was turned the other way. I felt like my leg was backwards, and I was kind of freaking out. I was like, holy shit. What do I do about this? My leg is fucking backwards. So I was just kind of sitting there, and I was like, oh my god. What have I done to myself? Like this is awful. Like, my life is ruined. I thought I was gonna, thought I was crazy. I thought I went crazy forever. I was like, this is the end of my life. This is awful. And so I was like, okay. So I go upstairs, and I just wanted to look out Gus's window. So I'm starting to look out his window. I was looking at the stars. They were looking all sparkly and nice, and I was like, damn, maybe I'm still tripping just a little bit. And, you know, eventually I just go and I lay down on Gus's floor. I was like, damn, I'm gonna be like this forever, man. I'm cooked. And eventually I just kind of fell asleep. Woke up in the morning, you know. Gus, he slept a very long time. I don't know how he slept so long, but I had to wake him up, and then it was time for me to go home. I went home, and that was the end of that night. Hey, thank you guys for watching this video. Part 2 will be soon. Alright, we'll talk about another one of the best trips I ever had, also with Gus. Now, thank you guys for watching. Please consider subscribing and liking the video if you did like the video and you want to subscribe.